Hello, everyone. This is Ahmet Turgut from Turkish Football Podcast. Welcome to a brand new edition of Turkish Football Podcast. Well, in this podcast, I have a very special guest today. He's a former national team player for United States, also coaching at the moment, and he has been in the World Cup 1990, 1994, and 1998 as a player. His name is Tab Ramos. Coach, welcome to Turkish Soccer Football Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me on. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm a big fan of the work you do. It's people that like you that keep football alive in this country, and we need more like you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I know you probably watched the match between the United States U.S. men's national team against Turkey in East Hartford, Connecticut, and I want to talk about that match first, and we'll go on to the other stuff too. But having seen the match, the whole 90 minutes, overall, what do you think about the United States national team, and what do you think about some of the young stars coming up with the Turkish national team?
Yeah, well, I thought that obviously the game started very well for the U.S. team. After scoring that goal, I think it sort of woke up the Turkish team a little bit. And then, although the U.S. was playing well the first 10 minutes or so, obviously giving up that goal on the mistake from Cardoso hitting Arda Güler's leg and the ball going in the goal, it sort of deflated a national team that has been lacking results now for years here. And I think we're at that point where any negative play in the game has a big effect in the game for us.
Yeah, especially like you said, I was at the game watching it with a live eye, and actually, I think first 20 minutes, like you said, the United States national team was much better than Turkey. I think Turkey was just lost on the pitch, and I saw Arda Güler, the young star for Real Madrid, came on the sideline, told the coach Vincenzo Montella something because something was not clicking, and he probably the quickest goal that Turkish national team got scored on in the first minute by young Jack Mcklin. And talk about that goal. It was a beautiful goal, though.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I think it was a good start by the U.S. team. They started the game obviously quickly. Jack is a left-footed player who normally plays in the center of the field. He's more of an 8. For this game, Pochettino decided to put him, I think, more on the right side in a 4-2-3-1. So he was the outside of the 3, and it turned out perfect for him to cut inside and take that shot. In today's game, there's a lot of players playing with the opposite foot, on the opposite side of the field, and I think it ended up being the right position for him in this game.
Yeah, and let's talk about the second match. I know you follow in your career Mexico. You played against them many times, and the second match for Turkey was really tough. They played in North Carolina. They traveled from Connecticut to North Carolina. It was Tuesday night, and as we know, you probably know, Mexican national team is very physical, and they intend to play dirty. I think that Turkey had more chances in the first half, but a spooky goal that came by at the end of the first half, and Mexico won this match. I did not like how Turkey played against Mexican national team, though.
No, I agree with you. I think the team looked mentally unprepared for the game. I think they thought because the U.S. game kind of turned upside down for them, and they were able to accomplish to get the win. And I don't want to say in an easy way, but it was they didn't need to exert themselves to the max. I think probably the expectation was that the Mexico game would be a little bit of the same. And I wouldn't qualify the Mexican team as having played a dirty game. They played hard, and I think when you play hard against a team that's not mentally prepared to play a game, it can be difficult. And I think that's what happened to Turkey. They never were really able to implement their style of playing the game.
I agree. And also I think what they had different players than the first match against the United States national team. I think Montella wanted to see the other players on the pitch because, as you know, the September and October is going to be very crucial for Turkey to start this World Cup 2026 nominations. They want to come to the United States, the World Cup 2026, but it is going to be hard for them. And I think he wanted to see all the players overall. What looking at the Turkish national team, who do you think that is the right now that stands out in that Turkish national team?
Well, I mean, I think overall, I'd have to say I like the way they defend. I think their center backs are both, they're both a big presence in the back. They're intimidating. They're quick, although they have they're pretty big guys. They're quick. Obviously, any team that has a player of the quality of Arda Güler, and most teams don't have that, by the way.
Right.
Any team that can have a player like that, and then can have the rest of the players
Combined
make a good effort, they can always be in the game.
Yes.
So I'm excited about what Turkey has to do. I think Turkey in general has been underachievers over the years in comparison to the talent that they always have, and I'm hoping that this is the year that Turkey can really have a big impact in the game.
Let's hope so. It's not the story with same with the United States national team. United States, after losing Turkey, they lost with a big score against Switzerland. And the United States national team that I follow for the last 30 years, they played with pride. With these young stars that on the pitch right now, either they're too young. I didn't see that against pretty much Turkey and also the last match against Switzerland. That foreign coach makes a difference being on the national team for United States.
No, I think it does. I think my expectation was the moment that Pochettino walked in that locker room, that everybody was going to be like, okay, this is a real deal now. Now we all have to give maximum effort because Pochettino is not going to be he's not going to just play the guys he's friendly with. He's going to want to win games, and we all have to be at our maximum level. But yet I haven't really seen that from the team. I haven't seen a reflection of that yet. I haven't seen, and you said, I think perfectly, if you've been watching the game in this country for 30 years, there's a part of our culture that you always have to understand. And our culture was always to play hard. So like if I look at the Turkish national team, they always have skillful players. But somehow their mentality has been over the years that in the tough moments they lose the right games, and you hope that they change that, right? And I think they're going towards that. But I think for us, we're going in the opposite direction. It seems like now, not only are we not as, let's say, as skilled and as powerful as other countries because we've never been, but also we've lost that little edge of that determination to not want to lose any games. And I think that's a little bit surprising for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the records against Turkey, you've seen this was the first win match for Turkey. Yeah, I don't know. Did you play in that friendly match in 1991 in Istanbul Beşiktaş Stadium back in 1991? It was a tie match. It was friendly match 1-1. I don't think it was right after the World Cup 1990.
No, I don't think so because I was playing in Spain at the time, and I played very few games with the national. I only came in the summers to play the games.
Right. Yeah. But what a great record for you playing in 1990, 1994, and 1998 World Cup. And you've been coach for a while in the United States. You know the American players much better than anybody. I think if you ask my opinion, a lot of people talk about this too. I agree. I think Pochettino needs an American coach with him to work in this national team. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it's always good to have someone from the house. I mean, football worldwide, it always works that way. You always have your own staff when you're a foreign staff, but you always have one or two people from, let's just call it from the house, right? That know the players, that know the personalities. I can tell the coach, hey, you can push them here, you cannot push them there. Our culture is this way, our culture is that way. So that's usually helpful. The only issue now is that I think that after this summer, there's very few competitive games until you go to the World Cup. So I'm not sure how much difference that would make.
Right, Coach Tab Ramos, I'm going to ask you this question that a lot of Beşiktaş fans probably don't know. And there was a lot of rumors about when this last season, what happened with the players, the chaos team in Turkey was the Beşiktaş, and a lot of people knew Brad Friedel was working with Beşiktaş as a manager, a general manager, and a lot of people did not know that you were part of that team working for Beşiktaş. And what do you? As I myself reading and talking to a lot of the reporters from Beşiktaş side, people didn't know that you worked for Beşiktaş. Can you explain this? So I think the Beşiktaş football team and Beşiktaş fans could find out from your own words.
Yeah, first of all, let me just say what an amazing club. I really enjoyed being there. I enjoyed, the time I spent with the players there, the times I spent with the staff there. People don't know that, Brad Friedel was the sporting director there. I worked directly for Brad Friedel, including making trips to Turkey, in which I spent a lot of times, there with players in their facility. I was at the away game at Galatasaray, where I was in the locker room with the players. I was at our home game against Kasımpaşa. So I worked for Beşiktaş from late last summer until about January of this year. The problem is that we have this problem in many countries in Europe that are not necessarily the top countries, and that is that they don't want to pay you. So if they don't want to pay you, they don't want to recognize that you work there. But I did many reports of many South American and North American players for the club. I worked directly for Brad Friedel. I insisted, month after month to Brad that, hey, I'm not getting, I signed a contract. How come I'm not getting it back? And I'm doing all this work every day.
Correct.
So when the club saw that they weren't having the type of season that they wanted, they decided to not sign the contract that I had signed with them, and I kept working for them. I'm a man of my word. I did work for them every day. And by the way, I truly enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed my interaction with fans. I enjoyed being in Turkey, in particular in Istanbul, most of that time working for Beşiktaş, and it's an absolutely great club. And I enjoyed actually being on the scouting side and going after big players. So we were looking at Brazilian national team players. We were looking at Colombian national team players, Ecuador national team players. So it was a great feeling for me to be involved at that level of scouting. As you know, Beşiktaş is a big club, and they can pay big money for players. So we were looking at the absolute best players that were not going obviously to the EPL. So I truly enjoyed it. It's unfortunate that some clubs work this way. And for me, as you know, I've had a big career here in the United States and a little bit in Spain and a little bit in Mexico, and I use all that knowledge to help the club. And it's unfortunate that they didn't recognize that because they didn't want to pay. I thought that was really really unprofessional. It was really unprofessional of the club.
So people know now from your own mouth that what went on, and believe me, I knew it was something because there was a lot of dark clouds out there. I knew the stuff that I asked this question to many people in the club. They did not answer, and they didn't even get back to me. And now hearing from you, because there's always for a story, there's two sides. The stories can't be ended with one side. I think, as you know, Beşiktaş was in a lot of trouble. Coach changes, and it just wrong players coming through. But my question is, did you guys get Kenny to the transfer of Kenny? Were you involved in that?
I was the first one to send a report to the club. I was not in charge of transfers. I would only recommend players, and I would only look at players. In particular, if I found through relationships that I had young players that could potentially be resold later on for more money that need a little bit of time, I would recommend them. But it would not be my decision whether they would sign a player or not. And Kenny was one of them. One that I watched for a while. One that I spoke with. And so I think we've had. We've had quite a few of those players where Brett and I both had conversations with players' parents, with agents, with the normal stuff that you do as a scout. I mean, I had when I was in Turkey, I was at the game in the locker room with the players. I mean, I had my accreditation from Besiktas that said director of scouting on it. So I mean, it's not like it's not like I was a fan. It's not like I was a fan and I just went to the games.
As a director of scouting, and it was never mentioned in the Turkish media. I'm going to say this. If my friends in the Turkish media gets mad, because I was with them, a few of them, at the national team game at Connecticut, and like I said, the stuff that they said about Friedel, and not so much your name, but I think you were involved. I knew you were involved. And Brett Friedel tried to do his job over there, but when you're in a foreign country trying to do your job, and when you're honest about it, and these nasty fans that sometimes get in your way, and that gets into the club officials. And there's the problem here. The club officials, presidents in every club in Turkey listens to the fans, especially on Twitter, on social media. They are affected big time. So I think thank you for explaining that what happened with you with Besiktas.
Yeah, no, and by the way, I would add this that's okay. Of course you have to listen to your fans. The fans are important. But I was in the scouting department of only North and South America. As you know, scouting, it takes time. It's not like you just bring one player and plug them in and that changes the team. Sometimes, in particular, when we were looking at younger players, you're looking at 2-3 years down the road.
Correct.
So the fact that the team doesn't win this Saturday shouldn't necessarily have an effect at the scouting department, because otherwise you're constantly changing. And this is in reference to what you're saying, that unfortunately, in Turkey, it's very emotional, right? Yeah. And so when you lose a game on the weekend, immediately everybody's thinking, oh, you have to fire everyone, and so and it's very difficult to work that way.
I appreciate your help coming to Turkish Football Podcast on TurkishSoccer.com, Tab Ramos, coach, and we'll do this maybe later on in the middle of the season. I know you follow Turkish league close, and the World Cup is coming. We'll talk about the Turkish national team, also United States national team. We'll talk general in soccer if you would like. You're welcome anytime to my podcast. I appreciate coming out, and I thank you very much, Tab Ramos. What will be your last words to Turkish Football Podcast listeners?
Oh, I would say that I would want to say that I'm completely enamored